We've been hunting on Facebook Marketplace to find the cheapest home used coffee machine that we can. And a lady's just posted up a Breville unit for 50 bucks. It's a high accident area, thanks. So we're gonna go there, pick it up, and we're gonna see what kind of coffee that we can make with it. We're gonna give it a clean, and we get it. We know everyone's not buying a $3,000, $4,000 home machine and getting that great espresso. So we've set ourselves a challenge to see what we can do. And we want to show you what kind of coffee you can make when you go out and buy that used home machine that's already been loved by somebody else. All right, it's in here. Let me park up. Here we go, and a whole bunch of goodies to sort through. Here's our $50 coffee machine. Let's go and have a look and see what we've got in all the in the bag here. All right, it's the end of the day, so everyone's gone home. It's a Breville. What is it? It's a Breville 15 bar thermoblock. That's all it says. There you go. She's got our steam wand. Huge big drip tray there. Removable water tank, it looks like it. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Actually pretty clean, which is good. All right, let's see what accessories we got with it. It's a Breville Cafe Aroma. Look at that. Beautiful. I'm sure this is quite a few years old. We'll learn how to make coffee by reading that manual. Ah, the good old coffee scoop and tamper, so that's a handy tool to have. That's your little rubber extra steaming knob that goes under, which helps you froth better, so we'll see how that goes. All right, a small little milk pitcher. And the group handle. That's interesting, that's got a little clip which you slide to be able to hold that basket in place. And that is a double-lined pressurized basket. So that's got a little insert in there. All those holes actually aren't what come out the bottom. You've only got one tiny little hole there. So that does help with using pre-ground coffee. Oh, and two beautiful goodies in here. Look at this. We've got some pre-ground coffee from grinders. And the natural decaf coffee espresso pre-ground from Victoria. So look at that, two beautiful coffees for us to have a play with. So from here, we're going to give the machine a good clean to make sure that there's no leftover coffee oils and wreck the coffee we're going to make. So the coffee techs are back in tomorrow, we'll get it to them, and then once they get it back to us, we'll start making some coffee. We've got the Breville Cafe Aroma all cleaned up, ready to make a coffee. Now, just to let you know what we've done, we gave it a bit of a polish, so it does look nice and pretty. We took out our water tank and we put a little bit of this liquid descaler in just to try and help clean up the inside of the machine in case there was any mineral buildups inside the boiler inside here. And then we used some Cafetto espresso clean as well to backflush to make sure that the head is nice and clean. We took the shower screen out, gave it a good clean. Now, just to note, when we did that, this group handle doesn't have any sort of backwash basket. We didn't have one. So we just got ourselves a little bit of rubber, cut a circle and popped it in. And that was enough for it to block up the holes in the bottom of the basket and put that chemical back in the head. So we'll get the unit turned on now. We've got some beautiful filtered water inside, which we have to do with every coffee machine. Now, as we turn it on, it does say it's heating. this is a very simple machine to use. You either turn the dial to get steam or you turn to brew. So you can see as soon as you go to espresso, it's going to start to pump some water out the head. If we go to steam, it's going to start to steam. Now, it's important to understand with this machine that you can't do both, and you have to allow the machine to recover from either making hot water or making steam. So we'd always recommend to brew your espresso first and then go and do your steam. So it's heating up. Actually, it's already heated. That's how quick it was, which is great. We still recommend to pop your handle in and get that all pre-warmed, because we do want to make sure that the hot water is going to go into the coffee, not into the head. And if we have a look at a few of the other little gadgets we've been given, that is a automatic steamer, which basically helps circulate the steam and the milk. So I'm not going to give that one a go. I think it's best just to go straight off the steamer that's there, which doesn't move. It's a fixed solid steamer. So that's probably going to be a little bit trickier to froth on. I look forward to giving that one a go. The jug that we were provided, it looks like, it's a Breville Cafe Roma standard edition jug. So it's good to know this is what they recommend to steam with. I'm going to give this a go, and then I'll let you know what we're going to change some little modifications to get the best out of it. So that's a pretty interesting shaped jug. It's quite straight. We've got our scoop, which they recommend. They recommend 1 scoop for weak, 2 for strong, and their tempers on the back end. So we've got ourselves some pre-ground coffee, which is what we would grind for our customers that come in and ask for pre-ground for a Breville or a Sunbeam or something like that. So this is what we call 3.5 grind setting. For us on an espresso machine, we're really more looking around that 2.9, maybe 3. So it is a coarser grind that we have here. So I think that's hot and ready to go. Might run a little bit of water through that front basket just to heat it up a bit there. There we go. We'll take the handle out. Oh, and it's warm. We'll give it a quick wipe, and I want to show you, oh, that's very hot. I want to show you the basket that we have here. So we've got some other videos that we talk about baskets, but this is what we call a pressurized basket. As you look in, you can see there's an extra sleeve which has been inserted with all the holes. When you have a look on the bottom, there is only 1 hole for the water and coffee to come out. So basically it's pressurizing, and because it comes out 1 hole, that's how you're going to get your aeration basically to make your crema. So it doesn't matter if you've got stale old coffee in the top, it's basically going to do a bit of an immersion brew and then be pressurized to make crema at the bottom. So understanding that on this type of machine is important. And when you have a look in here, they've got this little plastic insert. So the espresso will drop straight into this little cup. There's 2 little slots on the side. It will overflow, then make its way out the 2 individual spouts to separate into 2 cups. So just a little bit unique there. It's got a little handle, which the basket doesn't have a spring in it, so it flops out really easy. If you were to knock that out, it will fall out. So what you do is you push your lever and you hold it and you knock it out into your knock box, and then you won't lose your basket. So we're going to get some coffee in here. Let's get our trusty old scoop. And it says 1 level scoop. There we go. Let's see how much that takes up. All right, I reckon we've got the double spout basket that was provided when we bought the machine. So I'm going to give it 2 scoops here. Okay, 2 level scoops. There we go. Now, always got to distribute the coffee, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a tap. Move it around a little bit. Actually, it's pretty handy just to hold that with that little clip there, the basket holder clip. Okay, there we go. So pretty level, pretty well distributed, about the best we can do. And I think this is about a 52, maybe 53 millimeter. So we're going to give it a bit of a tamp with the supplied tamping mechanism there. We'll push down firm, give it a little bit of a turn. I'll just get rid of that excess. So there's a little bit of play between that tamper there, probably a good 1.5 mil. So there is room for that water to go around the outside of the basket, but we do have that flat and level tamp ready to go. So let's brew ourselves our first coffee. I better grab a cup, give me a sec. I'll use some latte glasses so we can see what happens with the shot. We'll lock that in on the left, there we go. We'll pop under our coffee and we're just gonna start our espresso button here. Pop that under the bottom. You can hear the pump kicking in there. Oh, there's a nice sort of colour, there's some crema coming out there. There we go, that ran reasonably quickly. You can see that we've, if you look at any of our other videos, we can tell that pale that's coming through there is over extraction. That actually happened quite quick. We did get some crema, you can see it settling and there's some black liquid in there. It smells a little bit bitter. Let's have a look at this now. I'm gonna take out our handle. Wowzers, okay, it's full of water. So even though we have that pressurized basket there, that there's still a lot of water. It really was being more like an immersion brew inside that head before it made its way through that single hole at the bottom. A lot of these units do come with like a little pin so you can unblock that hole. So that is a little bit messy. I'll give that a quick wipe up. Now, before we can froth, we would want to purge just to get rid of the coffee that might have been up on the top of that shower screen. And when we select our steam, it's actually going to start to push out some of the water that is in that heat exchanger to start. So you can see that we want that water to come out, and eventually the water level is going to drop inside that, I think it's the thermoblock in this unit, and it'll start to generate steam. So you can see there is a time you've got to wait between the espresso and the steam. So I'm going to let that build right up to a good solid pressure. There we go, that's pretty good. I'll turn it off for a second. There's a lot of water that came out through there. So I'm just going to get rid of that actually into this spare cup. We've got our milk. Well, I might need a little bit more milk than I think because that steamer doesn't reach too well depth-wise. We'll go back onto our steam. There we go, that's full steam pressure. Let's give it a go. All right. Okay. So we're going to try and get this milk to spin. Oh, trying. Well, there you go. That's about the best I can do. That seems to be the right angle to get some movement in the milk jug. That's the key thing. You want to get that swirl happening. It's a very low steam pressure, so it's going to take us a long time to do the milk, which is okay. It just gives us more time to get that constant little hiss that you can see happening there. All right, so the key thing when using these machines is make sure you find where that vortex, now that's a very small vortex, but at least that means that any foam we get is being pushed around through the milk, and it's going to maintain a nice silky texture afterwards. Now, it's still very cold, that milk. It's taken me a very long time to heat it, but I want to keep that vortex going. I'm very slowly dropping it just to maintain that little crackle, to get us a little bit of foam, hopefully enough for a latte. There we go. So now it's getting a little bit hot. I can't quite hold that anymore, so I'm just going to take my hand away, maintain that vortex. There we go. Now that's a bit too hot to touch. I'm going to wait about 10 seconds because it is quite a slow heat, just to get that up to a good temperature. Oh, don't do that. Don't do what I just did. That last little crackle at the end. So it's so important not to get that. Anyway, I'll give it a little wipe and a purge so that it doesn't block up. Our espresso shot has been sitting for quite some time, so that's not ideal. If we have a look at our milk, it is a little bit bubbly there on the top. So I'll still be able to tap out those because they're high speed sort of milk bubbles that I got at the very end there, we can swirl our milk, tap out some of those milk bubbles, get a bit of milk fireworks. We can swirl our espresso, swirl our milk. Again, the more you work that milk, the more you can get those bubbles out. And we'll swirl our crema. You can see the crema's definitely dissipated in that amount of time. We'll pour in, get a bit of a blob to start. All right, there you go. So we've got our little latte. We did get a little bit of foam in there. I couldn't really pour much with that jug. It was a bit tricky. So you can see we've got a nice amount of foam. It's actually quite well textured milk. At the end of that frothing, I did get that crackle, which made it a little bit more bubbly. But you can make a coffee. I would not expect anyone to be able to pour latte art through this jug. Not at all. That was very challenging. The spout's a problem, the shape of the jug's a problem. So let's redo this, and we're going to fix a few things and see how great we can get this coffee to be. Hey Ryan.
Yeah, I just dropped the bar. Rookie mistake.
Mental note, flick this across. By creating a recipe for your coffee and your extraction, it's something that can be repeatable. And that's going to give you so much more consistency in your coffee. Now, we've talked about it in other videos, which we can go in more depth, but we're going to create a quick recipe for this group handle. So we're going to pop on our handle, we will tear this off, and I'm going to get a scoop. This is finer coffee now. So we've gone to our espresso grinder in our coffee bar there, and if we've got one scoop, we'll just see how much coffee that gives us. All right, 8.2 grams there of fine ground coffee. So I reckon we're going to fit more than that, probably double that will go in. Let's have another little scoop here. Oh, making a little bit of mess. All right, we'll pop that in. All right, so 15.2 grams of coffee. So I'm going to just knock off a little bit of this coffee and just try and get that down to 15 grams. Okay, great. So let's work with this. Now, when we talk about coffee and the bed of coffee here, we're trying to minimize where that water can flow through easily. And that's called channeling. So we want to make sure that the gaps all the way through this coffee bed are consistent. There's some boulders here, which you can see, which can happen from a big clump where the grinder has really combined those clumps together. So if you've got a cheaper grinder, that tends to happen a lot more often. So I'm just going to distribute this out nice and flat and level. And being 15 grams, as I said, we're going to look for a very easy recipe. We're going to go for 2 parts water to 1 part coffee. So 15 grams of coffee. When we extract out the liquid, we're going to weigh that and we're going to look for 30 grams. And that will be what we would call a normal or a double shot if you want to keep it simple. We've got our WDT. Now, if you haven't seen these things, they're about $30 and they are the easiest way to help your distribution and reduce channeling in your coffee shop. Now, we haven't got a funnel, which we normally put on top because we're really fluffing this coffee up when we do this. We're going to quickly just zip around and cut through that coffee. I guess it's similar to sieving your flour is probably the easiest way. And we all know if we're baking how much of an effect sieving flour has when you start to bake. So we're doing that nice and low, or what we call deep WDT. Then I'm just coming up to halfway, trying to cut through all of those. And then I'll finish off and do the top WDT. There's a couple of little balls on the top there. Definitely easier with a funnel because you can lift these balls right up to the top and cut them up. There we go. Okay. All right, so finish our little WDT. I'm just going to level that coffee back off because it was just a little bit coming over the top. I'll give it one little tap just to collapse the coffee there. Oh, there's a big boulder right in the top. I want to get that. He's upsetting me. There we go, got him. Okay, so give that a little tap. Oh wow, look how many more bottles turned up anyway. A funnel will really help us. We've got our tamper, which was provided, which is the back end of the scoop. So I'm going to use that one now to tamp that coffee bed. And I'm going to be nice and flat and straight, but I do want to focus around the outside edge. Because this does wobble inside of here, I want to work my way around and make sure that we're compacting coffee down the edge of the basket. Because the water will just run straight down the edge of the coffee basket. That's where the least pass of the resistance will be. So, all right, that's looking pretty good. We've got our 15 grams of compacted coffee. So before we pop that into the handle, I'll quickly just tell you what we're going to do on the milk side. The jug we had is very straight, and this pouring spout isn't really deep enough for us to allocate the foam very well. If we just go out and spend about $15, these are just a very basic standard jug that you can buy from any coffee shop, or we've got them online, and you can see that the pot does increase from the bottom and decrease at the top. It's a very pronounced spout here, allowing the foam to come in at this point, and a very pointy little tip. So this is going to be a lot easier to foam with. The smaller surface on the top is going to help with the lower pressure from our steamer as well. So let's go and give that a brew all the way through. I'll get my milk ready. Give myself a quick little clean up because there is mess and grinds everywhere. Okay. All right, so we'll pop our handle in, ready to brew. We're going to pop our cup underneath. And our scale, it only just fits under there, which is cool. I will tear that off so we're about to measure our recipe. It's just got to get a flat spot to make that tear off. I think it's touching under here, is it? What's going on there? That scale is not liking fitting under there at all. What it is, it's pressing on the handle. Ooh. Okay, there we go. It's very tight for me to get that glassware not to hit on the handle here. So I don't know really where I can get that to not touch. Try again. It's touching. All right. We're going to have to use a different latte glass. Give me a sec. So I've got another glass here that'll fit under a bit better and allow plenty of room for that scale to work. There we go. All right. We'll be able to transfer that into the same cup if we need to. So we're going to start our extraction, and we're going to measure the time that it's going to take for us to do this extraction, and we're going to aim for 30 grams of end liquid weight. I'm just going to grab my phone, and we'll pop on a timer. And as soon as we start the water is when we start our extraction time. Now, it's only 15 grams of coffee. We normally use 22.5 grams and get about a 30 to 32 second extraction time. So I reckon with this kind of pressurized basket, we're going to be somewhere between 18 to 20 seconds, but we'll see what we can get. So we're going to go onto our espresso and start our extraction time. Oh, that's a little bit noisy up top there. All right. You can see straight away we've already got, oh, a leak. Oh, too much pressure. Ah! Okay, whoa. Okay, it didn't like that much pressure. But the color of that start of that extraction was amazing. It was really dark, it was really rich. That was wild. Okay, what do we end up with? We got 26.7 grams of coffee, but all that water did not go through the coffee. It came up over the top of the seal. I'm hoping we didn't break anything in under there with that much extra pressure. There you go, that's all the back pressure that's still in there. There you go, you can see it's definitely fine and sloppy. Okay, interesting. What can happen with some of these machines, because that is plastic, you can actually break where the lugs from the handle go in with a bit of extra pressure. So I hope I didn't do that. Anyway, that was really good to see. We had probably the most pressure you could apply into that pump. and into that coffee bed. So I'm going to keep going. I stopped that at 16.62 seconds. So we only got 26.5. We didn't quite get our recipe. Let's pop it into our other latte glass so that we can compare it to the other one. And we'll froth some milk. The same process. We need to put the steamer on and we need to get that water out, and steam's going to be created. Like a little soldier marching along. Tuk, 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 tuk. So that's a little vibration style pump doing its job. So you might have noticed last time I had the steam going and then I quickly jammed in the other jug. I find that's a better way, otherwise the steam stops and then you've got to start this process again. So once it's a constant steam like that, I would be real quick and jam it straight in and under. There we go. And we're going to try and find the spot where we can get this to spin. Okay, so we're getting a bit of a spin happening there now. All right, so that vortex and that spin is far greater than we had in the other jug. The actual circumference of the top of this jug is smaller, and you can see that it's spinning very well. That's super glossy, and we've got that constant little hiss happening. It's like someone's hitting my hand with a hammer right now with this steamer and the pump trying to keep up. Nice and gentle, just a constant little hiss. And as I said before, getting this vortex and the spin is the key thing. You've got plenty of time because it's a very low steamer. It's definitely not hot yet. It's starting to get warm now. So be really careful as you transpose your hands. I've locked my elbow on the bench now just to keep that in the right position. There we go, it's too hot to touch. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and I'm not gonna mess it up this time. Keep that tip in and under there until the steam has definitely stopped. And there is your silky milk. There you go. Give it a wipe and a squirt. You can see how much milk came out just after that. That will block up the tip there if you don't get rid of that. So definitely remember to purge after. All right, so we've got our silky glossy milk. Sorry, put my hat back around the right way. All right, look at that. That is exceptional milk. That is super glossy, super silky. There you go. So just taking the time. I'm going to swirl my milk. If I had some crema, I'd swirl the espresso as well. Pour in, get around the cup. Do my little pattern. Look at that. Wow. Now if you have a look down under here as well, you can see that the cup is still settling. Because I got such fine microfoam, you can see it settling inside the latte now, which is great, which means that the foam is coming through the coffee and the top foam layer isn't just white, it is actually that latte colour that we want to see. That is going to give you such a better mouthfeel and such a better taste. So from a foam perspective and frothing, that's probably the least powered steamer I've used in a very long time. But I could make a great steam, a great microfoam. That's amazing milk foam. So, you know, $50 machine that we went and bought secondhand, you can make great milk. So everyone tells me that they can't do these kinds of things on their home machines. Well, you can. Hopefully that's helped you improve that milk quality. So on the espresso extraction side of things, we've had a bit of a blowout. You can see here that it pressurized so much that there's a big hole that was created here. It's soft and sloppy because, as I said before, it's not forcing the water evenly through from the top to the bottom, which a normal coffee basket does. It has to all go down that one tiny little hole. So really that coffee is more like an immersion brew. It's floating in there because of that pressurized basket in there. Now, the first thing I would love to do is replace that with a basket that has all the holes. We just didn't have one, we couldn't find one to be able to use that as an example for you. So that's the other thing I would want to change straight away. We got pretty close on our recipe. I don't know if it's broken, but we'll check in a sec. And how does that taste? Well, Look, that milk is amazing. There is no doubt. It's silky, creamy. It's not overheated, so it's got that real great sweetness which is going into the coffee. The coffee is a little bland. It just tastes like strong coffee. It definitely doesn't have our standard champion flavors that we're looking for, but out of 15 grams of coffee, it's still very pleasant. We're used to having 22.5 grams, which is a much more intense, robust flavor and extracted a bit better. But look, if you're not getting this kind of look and feel out of a cup on a very cheap machine like this, I think they're 280 bucks brand new, and we got them secondhand for 50 bucks, and a little bit of love, we've actually been able to make quite a decent cup of coffee just with those few little changes. So the aim of this was to go out and buy a pre-loved machine for 50 bucks. We know it's a bit tight out there at the moment, and you know, if you want to get coffee in home, is this an option for you? Well, I reckon it is. We've been able to make a pretty decent cup of coffee for a $50 pre-loved machine. Now, there are a few things that we've had to obviously look at, was the steamer and being able to maybe have a better jug and take our time to make a great silky smooth milk. And I reckon that is 10 out of 10 milk. There is nothing in that milk I would do differently. So that's certainly a winner. So you can use a cheap steamer to create good milk. In terms of the extraction, well, we mentioned about the pressurized basket, which is causing a bit of a challenge. However, inside the basket there, you can see a little bit of the caramelization there. So we had enough pressure at one point to start to get the sugars to come out of the coffee. So that's a win for us. How would we fix this? Well, I would still stick with the 15 grams of coffee that we said we were going to put in here, but we would go to a coarser grind. So perhaps halfway between what we did on our first one to this one here would be pretty much spot on. And that would hopefully not blow out the back end, which is the seal inside here, and get all that pressure to go into the coffee and make a much better extraction. We would definitely be weighing to make sure we get that 2-to-1 recipe. So it was 15 grams of coffee, 30 grams of liquid espresso in the end there, and that would be the perfect recipe for this kind of machine. So I hope that's helped you understand that you can get a great coffee from a machine that you could buy at a very easy entry price point, or maybe from a garage sale. We appreciate it. You can't always get yourself into one of these Italian-made machines. They are definitely the next step up, but you can make that great coffee. So if you've got any questions about what we've done here today and how you can improve your coffee in a basic entry-level Breville machine like this, pop it down in the comments below. I'd love to answer that and see if we can help you make a great coffee at home. Thanks very much for watching, and I reckon we'll do another one of these at some stage because that was a whole lot of fun. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.